Listen up. Understanding fast talk and different accents. Introduction. Did your brain stop working when someone spoke very fast? Have you ever nodded your head, pretending you understood, when a different accent made it hard to hear? Do you think about talks later, trying to figure out what was said? If this sounds like you are not alone. In our world today, people travel more, talk to others online from different countries, and hear sounds from everywhere. English sounds different now than it did before. Many people find it hard to understand fast talking or new accents. But if these problems sound like yours, this book can help. This book will help you understand talking better and feel more sure of yourself in all your talks. Why is listening hard sometimes? It is good to know that hearing and listening are not the same. Hearing is what your ears do. Sound comes in and that is all. But listening is what your brain does. It is something you do on purpose. It takes work and skill. We learn to read and write when we are young, but we are not often shown how to really listen. Well, especially when people talk fast or have different accents. Fast talking can be like a fast river of words, making it hard to catch each word. Different accents, with their own sounds and ways of speaking, can make it hard to understand what someone is saying. This can cause confusion and make you feel bad. But what if there was a way to fix this? What if you could teach your brain to not just hear, but to truly listen and understand, no matter how fast someone talks or what accent they have? This is where our main idea comes in, listening well to different ways of speaking. This is more than just paying attention. It is a set of skills and ways to help you learn and practice. It means being a listener who is there and focused on understanding the main thing the speaker wants to say. It means using hints from the talk, like what the talk is about or what was said before, to help you understand words, especially if they sound new. Think of these hints as your secret help. When people talk fast or have a new accent, trying to hear every single word can be tiring. Good listeners learn to focus on the main idea, the most important thing the speaker wants to share. And like learning to ride a bike or play music, getting better at listening takes practice. This book will help you practice with different kinds of English talking, like shows on the radio, news, and talks between people. This will help you understand all kinds of speech. The active part means you must try hard, focus your mind, and be ready to change how you listen. By learning and using these skills, you will gain a lot. Imagine feeling sure of yourself in meetings, understanding every word of a movie without reading the words on the screen, or easily talking to new people from different places. You will have less confusion in your life, which will make your friendships and work better. You will feel less worried and upset when you hear talking that is hard to understand. This book is about helping you connect better, not about asking others to talk differently. It is about helping you understand the many ways people speak English. To help you on this path, this book is put together to build your skills slowly. We will start by looking at how listening works and the common mistakes we make. Then, we will learn ways to find the main ideas and use hints from the talk. Finally, we will practice with many examples. You will learn how to use different sounds to train your ears. By the end of this book, you will have good ways to understand spoken English easily and with confidence. Are you ready to change how you listen? Let's start. 1. Why listening skills matter. We hear sounds all day. Cars outside, the fridge humming, leaves rustling. Our ears are always open. But hearing is just the start. It's like opening a door. What we do with sounds after that is listening. Listening is more than just letting sounds wash over us. It's an active adventure for our minds. Think about it. When someone talks, especially fast or with an accent you don't know well, your brain works hard. It tries to catch every word, understand the meaning, and link it to what you already know. This is active listening for diverse speech. It means paying real attention, not just with your ears, but with your whole mind. You aren't just waiting to talk or thinking about dinner. You focus on the main message, even if words come out fast or sound different. You use the situation, the topic, and other clues around you, called context, to help understand. The more you do this, the better you get, like practicing a sport. Let me tell you about my friend Maria. Maria is very kind. She always helps and has a good heart. But sometimes, when she explains things, especially when excited, her words rush out. One afternoon, we planned a surprise party. Maria was getting the cake. She called me, full of energy. Okay, so I'm getting the cake, the one with blue frosting, you know? It needs to be there by 7, but not too sweet, and a little chocolate inside, but not too much. The baker said they have a deal on Tuesdays, so I'll go then. But you needed me to get balloons too, right? What time is the party again? I tried to keep up. I heard blue frosting, 7, and balloons. But details about sweetness, chocolate, and the Tuesday deal got lost. I nodded, thinking I understood. Later, I picked up the balloons. At the bakery, I saw a pretty cake with blue frosting, but it was very sweet, with no chocolate. It wasn't quite what our friend would like, and it cost more because it wasn't Tuesday. When Maria arrived, she saw the cake and looked sad. Oh no, she sighed. This isn't quite right, is it? I thought I said. Then she looked at me. Did I not say it needed to be less sweet and have a little chocolate? I felt bad. You did, Maria, I said. But your words came out so fast, and I was trying to catch everything. I heard blue frosting and balloons, but the other parts were fuzzy. That day was small, but it showed us the cost of not listening well. It wasn't just a cake. It was effort, planning, and wanting to make our friend happy. A simple mistake, from fast talking and a listener not fully focused, caused disappointment and extra work. We learned that even with good intentions, if we don't understand each other, our efforts can fail. This is why understanding why listening matters is so important. It's not just a nice skill, it's needed to get things right and make our actions match our intentions. Not listening well can cause problems, big and small. Imagine your boss gives you instructions for a project. They might speak fast because they are busy or have an accent you don't know well. If you miss a key detail, like a deadline, a requirement, or who to ask for help, you might do the task wrong. This wastes time, needs fixing, and can hurt your boss's trust. It's frustrating for everyone. You might feel embarrassed, and your boss might not feel they can count on you. In our lives, the effect can be deeper. Think about talking with a friend or family member. They might share something important, like a worry or a joy. If you aren't truly listening, if your mind is elsewhere or you struggle to follow their words, you might miss their feelings. You might reply in a way that seems uncaring, even if you didn't mean to. This can create distance and hurt feelings. A simple "I'm feeling overwhelmed" might be heard as just a statement. But if you listen actively, you hear a plea for support, a need for care. Without active listening, you might just say, "Oh, that sounds hard," and move on, leaving your friend feeling alone and unheard. Even daily tasks can be hard. Imagine you're in a new city looking for a shop. You ask for directions, but the person speaks fast with a different accent. You catch turn left and street, but which street, how many blocks, or any landmarks get mixed up. You get lost, feeling frustrated and maybe silly. You have to ask again, wasting more time and energy. This happens because you can't actively listen and process the information, especially when it's hard to understand. These misunderstandings make life harder. In our world today, understanding people from different backgrounds is very important. We live together like a big family, People travel, work across countries, and share ideas online. This means we hear many different accents, ways of speaking, and cultural habits every day. If we only understand people who sound like us, we limit ourselves. We miss chances to learn, connect, and grow. Think about how different accents make English richer. Each accent has its own history, its own music. When we try to listen actively and understand these different ways of speaking, we improve our communication. We also show respect for the variety of human experience. It's an act of including others. When you can understand and talk well with someone with a different accent, you break down walls. You show them you value their voice and ideas. This can lead to new friendships, good job chances, and a better understanding of the world. For example, many companies have teams in different countries. Understanding your colleagues, no matter their accent, is key for working well together. It makes everyone on the team feel like they belong. Besides practical help and bridging cultures, good listening builds deep human connections. When you truly listen, you give your full attention. You show that they matter, that their thoughts and feelings are important. This focused attention creates a strong bond. People feel safe and valued when they know they are heard. This is the base of trust and care. Think about your closest relationships. You feel close because you feel understood by them, and they feel understood by you. When you tell a friend a problem and they listen closely, nod, and ask good questions, you feel relief and connection. They might not have all the answers, but their willingness to truly hear you makes a big difference. They are actively listening, not just waiting to talk or giving quick advice. They are trying to grasp your feelings and situation. This is true for all relationships. A manager who listens to their team builds loyalty and makes people happier at work. Employees who feel heard are more likely to be involved and committed. In a neighborhood, people who listen to each other's concerns build stronger, more supportive communities. It's about creating a space where people feel safe to share and where understanding is the goal. When we practice active listening for diverse speech, we don't just hear words. We connect with the person. We see their humanity and build bridges of understanding. This ability to connect deeply is one of the best results of good listening skills. It makes our lives and the lives of others better. So, why does this matter? Because in a world that is often loud and fast, with many different accents and ways of speaking, truly listening is like a superpower. It helps avoid frustrating mistakes, build real relationships, and move through our diverse world with kindness and understanding. It's about going from just hearing sounds to truly getting meaning, connecting with others, and making our interactions work better and mean more. Understanding why listening skills are so important is the first step. Now that we see how much they affect our daily lives and relationships, let's learn how to build these skills. Starting with active listening. 2. Finding main ideas in conversations. Sometimes, words feel like they are moving too fast. It's hard to catch them all. This happens when someone talks very quickly or speaks with an accent you don't know well. But there is a way to understand the important parts. It's about finding the main idea, the most important thing the speaker wants to say. This is called active listening for diverse speech. It means you listen very carefully and use clues to understand everyone, no matter how fast they talk or where they are from. People talk for a reason. They want to share something, ask a question, or tell a story. Every talk has a purpose. If you know why someone is talking, you can understand what they are saying. I remember a time this was very helpful. I was in a new city with a friend. We were in a hurry to catch a bus. My friend was telling me something important, but she spoke very fast and her accent was different. I only heard a mix of sounds. I smiled and nodded, but I was worried. Was she telling me we were going the wrong way? Would we miss the bus? I felt frustrated. Then, I remembered to focus on the main idea. I took a breath and asked myself, what is the most important thing she needs me to know right now? I heard words like ticket and platform. She also pointed to the bus schedule. Then I understood. She was telling me we needed to buy tickets before we got to the platform, and we had to hurry. By focusing on the purpose, getting on the bus, and the words she repeated, I understood what I needed to know, even though I didn't hear every word. This showed me how important it is to find the main idea. How do we find the main idea when words are fast? Think like a detective. Look for clues. Keywords are important clues. These are words the speaker says many times or says loudly. They are often the most important words. If someone talks about a movie, they might repeat the movie's name or say good, bad, or you must see it. These words tell you what they think. Also, listen to how the speaker's voice changes. When something is important, people might talk slower, louder, or sound more serious. They might say the main point again in different words. These are like headlines in a newspaper. They tell you the main story. Keywords and voice changes are signposts to the most important information. Let's think about this question. How can you tell the difference between small details and the main message when someone talks fast? This is a very useful skill. Small details are like the decorations on a cake. They make it look nice, but they are not the cake itself. The main message is the cake. When someone talks fast, they might give many examples or tell little stories. These are the decorations. The main message is the main point they want you to understand. To tell the difference, ask yourself, what is the most important thing this person wants me to know or do? If you take away the extra words, is the main point still clear? Often, the main message is said at the beginning or the end. For example, if a friend says, "My car broke down, it was taken to the shop, and it will cost a lot to fix, so I can't go out this weekend," the main message is I can't go out this weekend. The other parts explain why. In a fast conversation, you might miss the details, but if you listen for the final result, you will get the main idea. Another way is to listen for phrases that show importance. Some speakers say things like, "The main thing is," or "What's most important is," or in short, these are direct clues. Even without these phrases, you can often tell. If someone tells a long story about a hard day at work and then says, "So, I really need a break," that last sentence is likely the main point. The story of their day is the supporting detail. Now, let's think about this question. What are the signs that show the main idea of what someone is saying? Verbal cues are the words and how they are spoken. We talked about keywords and voice changes. Repetition is also a clue. If a speaker says something more than once, it's probably important. Listen for phrases like "to sum up" where the key takeaway is. These are verbal signposts. Nonverbal cues are also important, even if you can't see the speaker. These are things like body language and facial expressions. If you can see them, watch their eyes. Do they look at you when they say something important? Do they lean in? Sometimes, people tap their hand or make a gesture when they have a key point. Small changes in their face, like a worried look, can show something is important. If you only hear them, the sound of their voice is even more important. A pause before a statement, a louder voice, or a more serious tone are all signs that the speaker is highlighting something. The context or the situation is also a big clue. This is where active listening for diverse speech is very helpful. Context is everything around the conversation. Who is talking? Where are they? What have you been talking about? For example, if you are at the doctor's office and the doctor says, We need to schedule a follow-up appointment. You know the context is a medical checkup. The main idea is clear. You need to book another visit. The situation helps you understand what is important. Also, if you are planning a party with a friend and they say, "We need balloons," the main idea is about decorations. If you are talking to your boss about a project and they say, "We need to finish the report by Friday," the main idea is about a deadline. The context helps you focus on what matters most. It helps you understand the purpose of their words. To get better at this, you can use some listening strategies. Before you listen, especially if you know the topic, do a little pre-listening. Think about what you expect to hear. If you are meeting a coworker about a project, you can guess the talk will be about the project's progress, problems, and next steps. This helps you listen for the right information. While listening, try to focus on the beginning and the end of what the speaker says. Often, the main point is introduced at the start and repeated at the end. For example, if someone gives directions, they might start with, "Okay, so to get to the library," and end with, "And that's how you get to the library." The middle part has the details, but the beginning and end frame the main idea. After the speaker finishes, take a moment to do a quick post-listening summary in your head. Ask yourself, what was the main thing they wanted me to know? Try to say it in one short sentence. If you can do this, you have likely found the main idea. This mental summary saves the important information. When I was learning to drive, my instructor would often give instructions very fast. He was explaining how to parallel park. He said many things about turning the wheel and reversing. It was a lot. I was trying hard to remember every step. But then I realized the main idea was simpler. Reverse slowly and adjust the wheel as needed until the car fits in the space. The exact angles were important details for doing it, but the main instruction was about the overall process. By focusing on that, I could then listen for the details that helped me reach that main goal. This skill gets better with practice. You don't need to listen to difficult talks right away. You can practice finding the main idea in everyday conversations. When your partner tells you about their day, what are they most excited or upset about? When a friend calls, why did they call? Even short ads on TV can be good practice. What is the ad trying to sell? What is the main benefit? The great thing about active listening for diverse speech is that these methods work for any accent or speed. When someone talks fast, your brain might try to catch everything, which can be too much. But if you train yourself to look for the main idea, you give your brain a target. It's like using a spotlight instead of a wide light. The spotlight focuses on what's most important. When you hear an accent you don't know, the same idea works. Instead of getting stuck on words you don't know, try to listen for keywords and the overall tone. What is the speaker trying to do with their words? Are they asking for help? Sharing good news? Explaining a problem? Focusing on the purpose and the main message helps you understand, even with new sounds. So, to review, finding the main idea is about understanding the speaker's purpose. It's about finding keywords, listening to tone, and using the context. It means preparing before, focusing during, and summarizing after. And most importantly, it's a skill that gets stronger with practice. Once you can quickly find the main ideas, you will understand conversations much better. You will be able to hear past the speed and accents to find the heart of the message. The next step is to learn how the place and the speaker's background, the bigger context, also change how we understand things. This will make your listening skills even better and make you a more confident speaker. 3. Using context to understand meaning. Sometimes, the words we hear don't mean exactly what they sound like. This can happen for many reasons. Maybe the speaker is using a phrase that has a special meaning, like break a leg, which doesn't mean to hurt yourself, but rather to wish someone good luck. Or perhaps they are speaking so quickly or with an accent that makes a word sound a little fuzzy. When this happens, if we only focus on the sounds, we might get confused. But if we look around at the situation, or think about what was said just before, we can often figure out the real meaning. This is what we mean by using context to understand meaning. Think about it like being a detective. A detective doesn't just look at one clue. They look at everything: the scene, the people involved, what happened before. Words are like clues. The words themselves are important, but the whole picture, the context, helps us understand what those clues really mean. This is a huge part of active listening for diverse speech. It's not just about hearing the sounds, but about using everything around those sounds to grasp the speaker's main message. Let me tell you a story about myself. Years ago, I was traveling in a small town in a country where I didn't speak the language very well. I needed to find a specific shop, a bakery that was famous for its amazing bread. I saw a friendly-looking older woman sitting outside her home and decided to ask her for directions. I knew a few basic phrases, but my pronunciation was probably terrible. I pointed to my empty stomach and said something I thought meant, "Where is the bakery?" She smiled, but then she started talking very fast, with a strong accent. I heard sounds, but they were like a jumble. I caught a word that sounded like left and another that might have been street, but the rest was a blur. I just stood there, nodding, feeling a bit lost. She saw my confusion and pointed down the road, then made a motion like turning a steering wheel. She said a few more words, and one of them sounded like market. My first thought was, market? I'm looking for a bakery. Why would she say market? I was so focused on the word bakery that her answer didn't make sense. I almost walked away thinking she hadn't understood me. But then I paused. I looked down the road she pointed to. I saw a few small shops. I remembered she had pointed towards the market and made that turning motion. I thought, maybe she means the market is down that street and the bakery is near the market. So, I decided to trust her gesture and the word market. I walked down the street she indicated. And sure enough, after about 50 meters, I saw a small sign with a picture of a baguette. It was the bakery. It was right next to the town's small market square. In that moment, I realized I had almost missed the answer because I was stuck on the exact word bakery. The woman was trying to help me. Her pointing, her gestures, the fact that she mentioned market, all of that was context. The market wasn't the answer itself, but it was a very important clue, a landmark that helped me find that bakery. I had to use the situation, me asking for directions, her pointing, to understand her meaning. My active listening wasn't just hearing her words, it was interpreting her actions and the environment. This is exactly what we mean when we talk about using context. The words she used were not perfectly clear to me, and my own words were probably not clear to her. But the situation, me needing directions, her trying to give them, provided a strong context. Her pointing down the street was a powerful clue. The word market became meaningful because it was linked to that direction and the overall goal of finding a place to buy food. Let's break down how this works. Words are not always literal. Sometimes, people say things that don't mean exactly what the words suggest. This is not to trick you, it's just how language works. We use phrases that have a special, understood meaning within a group or culture. These are called idioms. For example, if someone says, "It's raining cats and dogs," they don't mean animals are falling from the sky. They mean it's raining very, very hard. If you only listen to the sounds raining cats and dogs, you'd be very confused. But if you know the context, that the speaker is talking about the weather and perhaps looking out at A downpour. You can understand they mean heavy rain. Slang is another example. Slang words are informal words or phrases used by a particular group of people. They can change quickly and might not be understood by everyone. For instance, someone might say a movie was sick. If you only know the literal meaning of sick ill, you might think they didn't like the movie. But in some slang, sick means really good or amazing. The context here is usually a conversation about entertainment, and the speaker's tone of voice might also give a clue. Even without idioms or slang, people sometimes speak imprecisely. They might use a word that's close to what they mean, or they might trail off. For example, someone might say, "I need to get some that thing for cleaning the windows." They didn't say window cleaner or squeegee. But if you are in a situation where you are both cleaning the house, or if they are standing near the cleaning supplies, you can guess they mean window cleaner. The context, the shared activity, or the location helps you fill in the missing word. So, when you hear a word that sounds strange or doesn't seem to fit, don't panic. Ask yourself, is this a common phrase with a special meaning? Could this be slang? Is the speaker perhaps not using the most precise word? By considering these possibilities, you can often decode the intended meaning even if the exact words are a puzzle. This is a core skill in active listening for diverse speech. It's about understanding that communication is more than just a dictionary definition. It's about shared understanding and hence the power of the situation, the place where you are, the reason you are talking, and who you are talking to. All of this creates the situation, and it's a huge clue for understanding. Imagine you are at a loud concert. Someone leans over and shouts something. The music is pounding, and you can barely hear. They might say something that sounds like "go away." But in the context of a loud concert, they are probably shouting "go away" in excitement, meaning "get out of the way so I can see." Or perhaps even cheering. The loud environment and the shared experience of enjoying music tell you that a literal "go away" is unlikely. Or think about a doctor's office. If the doctor says, "We need to run some tests," you understand this means medical tests. You don't think they mean running laps around the hospital. The context of being in a medical setting makes the meaning clear. The purpose of the communication is also vital. If you are at a casual coffee with a friend and they say, "I'm so swamped right now," they mean they are very busy. They are not literally drowning in water. But if you were talking about a flood and they said, "The water is swamping the town," then they would mean literal flooding. The situation, a casual chat versus a discussion about a natural disaster, completely changes the meaning of the word swamped. When you are listening, especially to someone with a different accent or speaking quickly, take a moment to notice the situation. Where are you? What are you doing? What is the overall topic of the conversation? Is this a formal or informal setting? These questions can help you narrow down the possible meanings of unclear words. For example, if you're at a shop and the shopkeeper says something that sounds like "this one is 50 and they are holding up a shirt," you can be pretty sure they mean $50 or €50, not 50 apples. The context of a shop and an item for sale makes the meaning clear. This active awareness of your surroundings is a key part of active listening for diverse speech, helping you to make sense of the sounds you hear. Building on previous information, one of the most powerful tools we have for understanding is what came before. Every sentence in a conversation is usually connected to the one before it. If you miss a word or a phrase, the sentences you did hear can often give you a very strong hint about what was missed. Let's say someone is telling you about their weekend. They say, "On Saturday, we went to the park. It was a beautiful day. We saw some ducks on the lake. Then we decided to have a picnic." I brought sandwiches and my friend brought, and here's where the sound gets fuzzy. You can't quite catch the word, but you know they were talking about a picnic, and you heard sandwiches and my friend brought. What would a friend typically bring to a picnic if you brought sandwiches? Maybe drinks? Maybe dessert? Maybe some games? The previous sentences, we decided to have a picnic, I brought sandwiches, set up the expectation. They create a mental space that the missing word needs to fill. If the speaker had said, I brought sandwiches and my friend brought a new book, it would feel a bit strange in the context of a picnic, though not impossible. But if they said, I brought sandwiches and my friend brought some lemonade, it fits perfectly. This is why it's so important not to tune out completely when you miss a word. Even if you only catch a few words, those words are like anchors. They hold the meaning of the surrounding conversation. When you realize you've missed something, try to recall the last few sentences you understood clearly. What was the topic? What was the speaker trying to say before the unclear part? This information acts like a map, guiding you toward the likely meaning of the missing piece. In active listening for diverse speech, this means actively holding on to the information you do understand. Don't let a missed word make you stop listening altogether. Instead, use the words you heard as a bridge. Think of it as filling in the blanks in a sentence. The more context you have from what came before, the better you can guess what belongs in the blank. Nonverbal cues. A quick look. While this book focuses on understanding spoken words, especially with speed and accents, it's worth a brief mention that humans communicate with their bodies too. Even if an accent makes words hard to understand, a speaker's gestures, facial expressions, and tone of voice can sometimes offer clues. For example, if someone is speaking quickly and with an accent and you can't quite understand a word, but they are smiling and giving you a thumbs up, it's very likely they are saying something positive. If they are frowning and shaking their head, they are probably saying something negative or expressing disagreement. Tone of voice is especially important. Even with accents, you can often detect if someone sounds happy, sad, angry, or surprised. This emotional tone provides context for the words. If a speaker sounds excited, even if you don't catch every word, you can infer they are talking about something they find interesting or enjoyable. Of course, relying solely on nonverbal cues can be tricky. Not everyone is expressive, and sometimes tone can be misinterpreted. But when you're struggling with the words themselves, these other signals can be helpful additions to the context. They are like extra clues in our detective work, helping us build a fuller picture of the message. Predicting meaning. This is where active listening really shines. When you understand the general topic of conversation, you can start to predict what the speaker might say. This makes it much easier to understand them, even if they speak fast or have an accent. Think about the bakery example again. I knew I was asking for directions to a bakery, so I was expecting to hear words related to directions in shops. When the woman said market, my brain, already primed for directions, tried to fit market into that context. It didn't fit as the bakery, but it fit as a landmark near the bakery. This prediction ability works best when you are engaged in the conversation. If you are truly paying attention to the topic, your mind starts to anticipate the flow of information. If you're talking about food, you expect words related to ingredients, cooking, or taste. If you're discussing a movie, you expect words about the plot, actors, or special effects. If you're getting travel advice, you expect words about transportation, accommodation, or sightseeing. When you hear a word that is unclear, your brain can quickly scan its list of expected words for that topic and see which one fits best. This is not about guessing randomly. It's about making educated guesses based on the context you've already gathered. This predictive power is a huge advantage when dealing with fast talk or accents. Instead of trying to catch every single sound perfectly, you are using your understanding of the situation and the topic to help you hear the words correctly. It's like your brain is helping to fill in the gaps before you even consciously realize they are there. This is a crucial part of active listening for diverse speech. You are not just receiving information, you are actively participating in the meaning-making process. Analytical question 1. Clear example of misunderstanding vs. understanding with context. Let's imagine two scenarios for the same spoken phrase. Suppose someone says, "I'm going to the bank." Scenario A. Hearing only the sound, no context. If you only hear the sound bank and have no idea what's going on, you might be confused. What kind of bank? Is it a river bank? Like the side of a river? Is it a blood bank? Is it a data bank? Is it a financial institution where you keep money? Without any other clues, the word bank has multiple possible meanings. If you were just listening to random sounds, you wouldn't know which one was intended. Scenario B. Understanding with context. Now let's add context. Context 1. Casual conversation. Your friend says, "I need to go to the bank to deposit this check." Here, the context is a casual conversation, the mention of depositing a check, and the fact that you know your friend. All these point to the financial institution. You understand immediately. Context 2. A day at the lake. You are sitting by a river with a friend. The friend points to the edge of the water and says, "Be careful, it's slippery there. I almost fell in last week when I was sitting on the bank." In this situation, the context is being by a river, the mention of slipping, and the idea of sitting. This clearly points to the river bank. Context 3. A medical discussion. You are talking to a nurse about donating blood. She says, "We always need more donors for the blood bank." Here, the context is medical, about donating blood. This points to the blood bank. In each case, the same word bank is used, but the surrounding information, the topic of conversation, the location, the other words spoken, completely changes the intended meaning. If you only focus on the sound of bank, you're lost. But if you use the context, the meaning becomes clear. This is the essence of active listening for diverse speech, using the whole picture to understand the message, not just isolated sounds. Analytical question 2. Actively scanning for contextual clues. When you realize you've missed a word or phrase because of speed or an accent, what should you do? You need to become an active context scanner. It's like your brain switches into a higher gear, looking for helpful information. Here's how you can do it. 1. Don't shut down. The most important first step is to not give up. Resist the urge to just nod and pretend you understood. This leads to misunderstandings later. Instead, accept that you missed something and decide to actively figure it out. 2. Recall the last known meaning. Immediately after you realize you missed something, think about the last thing you did understand clearly. What was the topic? What was the speaker trying to convey before the unclear part? This is your starting point. For example, if you were discussing travel plans and missed a word, remember the destination or the mode of transport that was just mentioned. 3. Listen for keywords in the surrounding sentences. Even if one word was fuzzy, the words around it are often clearer. Listen for nouns, verbs, and adjectives. These are the building blocks of meaning. If someone says, "We need to buy some fuzzy word for the party," and you heard buy in party, you're looking for something you buy for a party. Maybe decorations? 4. Analyze the situation. Take a quick mental snapshot of where you are and what's happening. Are you in a grocery store? The fuzzy word might be a food item or a product. Are you at work? It might be a project name, a task, or a deadline. Are you having a casual chat? It might be about a hobby, a person, or an event. 5. Consider the speaker's tone and nonverbal cues. As mentioned before, if you can, pay attention to how they are saying it. Does their voice sound happy, worried, or neutral? Are they gesturing towards something? Are they smiling or frowning? These can give you emotional context or point you towards a physical clue. 6. Look for repetition or rephrasing. Sometimes, if a speaker notices you're confused, they might repeat the idea in different words or even repeat the unclear word more slowly. Keep listening, as they might provide the answer themselves. 7. Make an educated guess and be ready to confirm, based on all the clues, the topic, the surrounding words, the situation, the tone. Form a hypothesis about the meaning. Sometimes you'll be right. Other times, your guess might be slightly off, but it can still be enough to keep the conversation going. If you're unsure, it's okay to ask for clarification, but often you can infer enough to follow along. For instance, imagine you're listening to a news report about a new technology. The reporter says, "This new device uses advanced fuzzy word to connect to the internet." You heard new device, advanced, and connect to the internet. What kind of technology would be described as advanced and used for internet connection? Maybe wireless technology, chipsets, algorithms? The context of technology news helps you narrow down the possibilities. By actively scanning for these clues, you are not passively waiting for information, you are actively seeking it out. This proactive approach is fundamental to active listening for diverse speech. It transforms listening from a potentially frustrating experience into an engaging process of discovery, including thought. By actively engaging with the situation and the flow of conversation, you transform from a passive hearer into an active decoder, unlocking meaning even when the words themselves are a challenge. This ability to read between the lines is a powerful tool, and it naturally leads us to consider how we can actively seek out and process the most important information within any spoken message. You're not just listening to words, you're understanding messages. And that, my friends, is the heart of great communication. 4. Practicing with different audio sources. Not long ago, I was in a coffee shop. I wanted to order a latte. The person making the coffee, a young woman with a nice smile, spoke very fast. Her accent was also hard for me to understand. My brain tried hard to catch her words, but they all sounded like one fast sound. I just nodded. I hoped I was saying yes to the right thing, but I got black coffee instead. It was a small thing, but it felt like a big mistake. I felt upset. It wasn't her fault, it was mine. Why was it so hard to understand? That moment, and others like it, taught me something very important. Listening is not just about hearing sounds. It is about trying hard to understand what is being said. When people talk fast or have a different accent, we need to try even harder. The good news is, like any skill, we can practice listening and get better. The best way to understand fast talking and different accents is to listen to many different kinds of sounds. Think of it like training for a sport. You would not just practice one type of throw, right? You would practice many moves to be a good player. Listening is the same. Why different sounds help? Our ears and brains get used to the sounds we hear a lot. If you are used to one accent or a slow way of talking, anything different can feel strange. It's like trying to run a long race when you have only jogged a little bit. Your body is not ready. When someone talks fast, or with sounds or a rhythm you are not used to, your brain must work harder to understand. It is trying to figure out sounds it has not heard much before, while also trying to keep up with the speed. This is where active listening for different speech becomes very useful. It's not just about hearing the words. It's about focusing hard on what the speaker is trying to say. This means using the situation, the topic, and other information around you to help understand the missing parts. To get really good at this, especially with difficult speech, you need to practice with different kinds of spoken English on purpose. Each new accent, each different speed of talking, is like a new exercise for your listening muscles. It helps your brain become more flexible and better at finding patterns, even when they are new. Imagine you are learning a new language. You would not just listen to one person speak it, would you? You would listen to different teachers, different people who speak it, and maybe watch movies. You would hear many ways to say the same thing. The same idea works for getting better at understanding fast talking and different accents in English. Each new sound, each new rhythm, helps you understand the language better and how millions of people speak it around the world. It makes your brain quicker and more ready for anything. Podcasts are like a gym for listening. One of the best tools we have today for practicing our listening is the podcast. They are everywhere and talk about everything you can imagine. This variety is exactly what we need. Think of podcasts as your own personal listening gym. You can take them with you when you travel, when you do chores, or when you relax. When you pick podcasts, try to find different kinds. Don't just listen to one show or one type of person talking. Look for podcasts with different speakers. Listen to shows with many speakers who talk in different ways, have different accents, and come from different places. This lets you hear many voices and rhythms. Different guests. Many podcasts have guests from all kinds of life. These guests often have their own unique accents and ways of speaking, which is great practice. Different topics. You might have a favorite subject, but try listening to podcasts about things you don't know much about. This makes you use the speaker's clarity and the context clues more, instead of just what you already know about the subject. Once you find some podcasts, how do you use them for active practice? It's more than just letting the sound play. Here are some ideas. 1. Listen for the main idea. Start by listening to a short part, maybe 5-10 minutes, without trying to hear every single word. Your goal is just to understand the main subject or the main point the speaker is making. Ask yourself, what is this mostly about? 2. Listen for specific details. After you get the main idea, listen again. This time, try to find a few important details or supporting points. What examples do they give? What important facts do they mention? 3. Focus on a specific accent. If you know a podcast has a guest with an accent you find hard, try listening just to that guest. Focus on how they say certain words, the rhythm of their speech, and how they connect their ideas. 4. Tell what you heard. After listening to a part, try to explain it out loud or write a short summary. This makes you remember and think about what you heard, showing you what you understood and what you missed. 5. Use written words, but carefully. Many podcasts have written versions of what was said. You can use these, but don't use them too much at first. Try listening without the written words first. Then, if you are having trouble, read the written words to catch the parts you missed. Finally, listen again with the written words to connect the sounds you heard with the written words. This helps your brain make new connections between sounds and words. Podcasts are great because there are so many and they are easy to find. You can find shows about history, science, crime stories, and comedy. This endless supply means you will always have material to help you build your active listening for different speech skills. It's a fun, interesting way to train your ear to the many different ways English is spoken today. News and media for real-life practice. Besides podcasts, News and media are a great source for listening practice. News shows, interviews, and documentaries are fantastic because they often have a mix of formal speech, accents from different places, and sometimes very fast discussions, especially during live reports or group talks. When you watch or listen to the news, pay attention to the different voices you hear. You will hear main speakers. These are often trained speakers with clear ways of talking, but they might still speak very fast. Reporters on location. These reporters might have accents from their area and are often speaking quickly, sometimes with noise around them, making their speech a good challenge. People being interviewed. People interviewed on the news come from all backgrounds and speak with many different accents and speeds. This is where you get the most varied practice. The good thing about watching, like on TV news or online news clips, is the added visual context. When you can see the speaker, you get clues from their faces, their body language, and where they are. This visual information is a powerful tool for active listening for different speech. It helps you understand the feeling behind the words, the parts a speaker is emphasizing, and can even help you guess the meaning of words you don't know based on the situation. Here's how you can get the most practice with news and media. 1. Watch or listen carefully. Don't just have the news on in the background. Choose a specific part or interview in focus. Try to find the main point of the report or the main idea of the interview. 2. Notice the accents. Make a mental note of the different accents you hear. Can you tell where they are from? How do they say words differently than you are used to? 3. Focus on key phrases. In news reports, speakers often use specific phrases to introduce information or summarize events. Try to catch these. In interviews, listen for the main message of the person being interviewed and the questions the interviewer asks. 4. Use visual clues. If you are watching a video, look closely at the speaker's face and the area around them. How do their expressions match their words? Does the place give you clues about what they are talking about? This is an important part of using context to help understand. 5. Challenge yourself. If you find a news speaker or reporter talks very fast, try listening just to them. Can you catch the main idea of their report? Can you find a few important facts they share? Documentaries also offer great practice. They often have narration with clear speaking, but also interviews with experts or people sharing personal stories. These interviews can have a wonderful mix of accents and speaking styles. By actively paying attention to these materials, you are training your brain to understand a wider range of spoken English, making you feel more comfortable and sure of yourself when you hear these voices in everyday life. This steady practice makes you better at using active listening for different speech, helping you understand the main message even when the way it's said is new. Movies and TV shows. Fun with a goal. Who doesn't like a good movie or TV show? The great news is that this type of fun can also be a powerful way to get better at listening. While the language might be more casual or dramatic than news reports, movies and TV shows offer a rich place for practicing active listening for different speech. The key is to watch them with a specific learning goal. Just watching for fun might be enjoyable, but it won't make your listening skills much better than active watching will. Here are some ways. 1. Start with subtitles. If you are watching a show or movie with accents or fast talking that you find hard, start by watching with subtitles in your own language or in English. This lets you follow the story and connect the sounds you hear with the written words. It's a great way to learn new words and understand how accents change how words sound. 2. Use English subtitles. When you feel more comfortable, switch to English subtitles. This makes you pay closer attention to the spoken words and how they are spelled. You will start to notice the small differences in accents as they are shown in writing. 3. Watch without subtitles. This is the best way to practice active listening. Choose a show or movie you've already seen with subtitles or one where the talking is quite clear. Focus on understanding the main story and the feelings of the characters. Can you follow the conversations? Can you find the important parts of the story? 4. Focus on character voices. Accents in movies and TV shows are often used on purpose to show who a character is. A certain accent might show a character's background, their social standing, or their personality. Pay attention to these choices. How does a character's accent change how you see them? This is a way of using context to understand meaning. 5. Listen for emotion and tone. Actors use their voice, including accent, speed, and tone, to show many different feelings. Practice listening not just for the words, but for the feeling behind them. Are they happy, sad, angry, scared? How does the way they speak help show this? This helps you understand more than just the exact meaning of words. 6. Watch scenes again. If there's a part or a conversation that was hard for you, watch it again. Try to find the parts you missed. Can you understand them now after listening a second time? Doing this again is a powerful way to learn. Movies and TV shows offer a more relaxed way to practice. You can stop, go back, and watch scenes again as needed. This makes them less scary than, for example, a live news report. By using them in your practice, you are not only getting better at listening, but also having fun. It's a perfect example of how active listening for different speech can be part of everyday life in a fun and interesting way. You are training your ear to understand different ways of speaking, noticing small clues, and using context to understand the full meaning, all while being entertained. Music and audiobooks. Practicing rhythm and stories. While maybe not as direct for practicing conversations as podcasts or movies, music and audiobooks can also help improve your listening skills, especially with rhythm, pronunciation, and understanding longer stories. Music. Listening to song lyrics can be very helpful. Many singers have clear accents, and the rhythm and rhyme of songs can help you learn how words are pronounced. Focus on the lyrics. Try to follow along with the words of songs. This is especially helpful if the singer has a strong accent or sings fast. Looking up the lyrics online and reading along as you listen can be a great way to connect the sounds to the words. Notice pronunciation. See how the singer says words. Do they make vowels longer? Do they leave out certain sounds? This can show differences in pronunciation that are common in different accents. Rhythm and flow. Music is all about rhythm. Paying attention to the rhythm of singing can help you get a better ear for the natural rhythm and flow of spoken English, even when it's spoken fast. Audiobooks. Audiobooks offer a long listening experience, much like podcasts, but often with a more polished and steady narration. Steady narration. One person reading a whole book usually keeps the same accent and speed throughout. This lets you get very used to one way of speaking, which can be great for building confidence and finding patterns in that specific style. Understanding long stories. Audiobooks train your ability to follow a longer story, keeping track of characters, plot changes, and main ideas over long periods. This is a very important part of active listening for different speech, the ability to stay focused and understand over time, even when the speech is hard. New words and context. As you listen to a story, you hear new words and situations. The story gives you a lot of context that helps you understand the meaning of words and phrases, showing again how important context is for understanding. Different readers. When choosing audiobooks, you can choose readers with different accents on purpose. This lets you practice understanding different spoken English within the structured format of a story. While music and audiobooks might not be exactly like real conversations, they offer special benefits. Music helps with the musical part of language, its rhythm and pronunciation. Audiobooks build the ability to listen for a long time and understand longer stories. Along with podcasts and news, they create a complete practice plan. By listening to these different kinds of audio, you are actively building the ability to adapt and be strong for active listening for different speech. You are training your ear, your brain, and your focus to handle the beautiful, varied ways English is spoken, making you a more confident and capable listener in any situation. By actively listening to many different kinds of audio, you have started to build the basic skills for understanding fast talking in different accents. The next important step is to make these skills better by focusing on the specific ways to find meaning, even when the words themselves are hard to catch. Inclusion. Remember when words seem to mix together like a jumbled puzzle? Or when a new way of speaking felt like a closed door? We started by learning that just hearing sounds is not the same as really listening. People talk fast, and there are many different accents, which can make it hard to understand. But you didn't just hear about these problems, you worked hard to solve them. You spent your time and energy to become a better listener, and that is a big success. In the past parts, we gave you helpful tips and ways to turn hard listening times into chances to connect and understand. The main idea we talked about is listening carefully to different ways of speaking. This means not just being there, but really paying attention. We learned to be like detectives looking for the main points. Instead of getting stuck on every single word, we practiced finding the most important message the speaker wanted to share. This is very useful when people talk fast. It helps you get the main idea even if you miss a few words. We also got better at using the situation to understand words. The words around a sentence, where the talk is happening, and what we already know all help us figure things out. This helps us when we don't hear a word right or when an accent is new. Most importantly, we said that practicing with different sounds is a must. Listening to news reporters who talk fast or to people with different accents and stories helps you get used to all kinds of English. When you hear fast talking, finding the main ideas helps you keep up. When you hear a new accent, using the situation helps you understand. All these things together help you listen carefully to different ways of speaking. This makes you feel more sure when you listen to any English. Being able to truly listen, to pay attention to different ways of speaking, is more than just understanding words. It helps you connect better with all kinds of people. It makes you learn better from classes, talks, and even everyday chats. At work, it can be a big help. It builds trust, stops mistakes, and makes working together easier. Think of everything you hear as a chance to practice. Every story you hear, every news report you watch, every talk you have is a chance to get better. This is not the end. It's the start of something new and exciting. You now have the knowledge and tools to face hard listening times not with worry, but with excitement. You are not just hearing sounds, you are building understanding. So keep listening, keep practicing. Listen to stories with accents you don't know, try talking with people who speak faster, and use the listening tips we learned. Remember, listening is an active thing you do. By listening carefully to different ways of speaking, you have gained a strong skill to connect, understand, and do well. In our world of many voices, the world has many voices waiting to be heard. Go listen closely and find the good things they share. Happy listening!